Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. We got some more Reddit posts to check out today, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into it, friends. Screwing over a landlord's crappy father who parks on our driveway. The story starts 4 years ago. I was living with two friends in London, within a 2-minute walk from a popular underground station. We all were and still are teachers, but not at the same school. This will all be relevant later. We were renting from a friend of a friend who was abroad for the year. Our house had a drive with 2 parking spaces, which was convenient as we had 2 cars between the 3 of us, and parking on the road was somewhat restricted. To prevent people from driving to a road near the station, parking, and then taking the train to commute to work, all the surrounding area, including our road, had non-restricted parking, except for in 2 time slots, between 12 and 1 and 5 and 6. So you could park most of the time, but you could never leave the car on the road for more than a few hours, or you'd get a ticket. Our problems arose early on, not with our landlord as you might expect, but with the landlord's crappy father, henceforth known as LSF. LSF lived in the same area, but a 20-minute walk away from the station, as opposed to our 2 minutes. We quickly found that he was driving to the station and parking on what used to be his son's but was now our drive. Either because he didn't want to walk the 20 minutes, or because he wanted to avoid the expensive official station car park. It went something like this. 7 a.m., we leave the house to get to school, leaving both driveways empty. 8 a.m., LSF leaves for work, finds our driveway devoid of cars, and parks on our drive. 5 p.m., we come home from school and find LSF's car on our drive. One of us parks in the other space. The other cannot park on the road for another hour without getting ticketed. So we'd have to go and try to find another road to park in without the restricted parking, circle the road for the hour, or just cross our fingers and risk getting a ticket. None of the options were ideal, and it varied which one we went for. 7:30 p.m. LSF returns, takes his car off the drive, and we can then fetch our car and put it back on the drive. We went through all the usual channels first, leaving a polite note on the windscreen, leaving less than polite notes on the windscreen. Soon we called our landlord and asked him to speak to his father. Whilst he took our side though, our landlord clearly didn't have much of a spine, and this failed to get LSF off our drive. Eventually, we lie in wait one evening for him to come and collect his car, so that we can speak to him in person ourselves. The conversation goes something like this. "Excuse me, LSF, but it's very inconvenient for you to keep parking here, and our tenancy clearly includes use of the double driveway," we said. "I helped pay for the deposit on this house. I'll park here if I bloody well like." "So what do you expect us to do then?" "Not my problem. Find somewhere else. I don't care where." We know full well that LSF lives somewhere in the neighborhood. What if we park on his drive and give him a taste of his own medicine? We can just imagine it now. LSF leaving our drive, driving home, only to find his own drive occupied. We think it's a genius plan. The only problem is that we don't know where the bastard lives, but we shrug those concerns off. Nothing a bit of old internet digging won't fix, so we start our research. We search for this guy's last name in conjunction with our local area. And whilst we find several old newspaper articles with our landlord in, as he used to be part of the neighborhood watch, we find nothing on his father, except dodgy-looking websites that want us to pay a fee for his telephone number and address. We're on the verge of giving up when it hits me. If the internet can't help us, we're going to have to get a bit old school. I call up my parents who live a few miles away, but in the same borough. And at the back of their dusty old cupboard, they find the answer to my hopes and prayers. Obsolete and untouched for 10 years or more. It's the phone book. And as luck would have it, LSF is in it. Telephone number, and most importantly, address. We put our plan into action that next evening. We come home from work, and as usual, LSF's car is on our drive. Tonight, we don't circle for an hour. Tonight, we drive to his address and park it squarely on his empty driveway. And on the windscreen, we leave a note. As suggested, we parked somewhere else. He never parked on our driveway again. We later found out from the landlord that he got a ticket from parking on his road, which had permit-only parking for the people without driveways. That's karma for ya. Edit. For people suggesting that we should have had him towed. Unfortunately, the law is very different in the UK than in the US. It's against the law to prevent someone from accessing the highway, i.e. to park in front of their drive when their car is on it. but it's not a criminal offense to park on someone's drive. It's technically trespass, but that's a civil offense and not a criminal one. You can't tow them. And whilst you can call the police, they have no obligation to get involved. In London, they'd laugh at you. The police barely investigate burglaries nowadays, let alone cars on somebody else's driveway. That really is fair play, isn't it? And I think LSF knew that too, which is probably why he didn't confront them about it and just simply stopped. And I don't really know anything about the law in the UK myself, but if all that is true, it's pretty unfortunate that you don't have any kind of support from law enforcement when that kind of stuff goes on. Not allowed to remove my neck brace? Okay. Years ago, I was in a bad car accident. An older man turned left in front of me at an intersection and T-boned me. Ambulances were called. I was put on a backboard with a neck brace and brought to the hospital, where I was deposited on the gurney in a hallway, as there were no rooms available at that time. I laid there for quite a while waiting to be seen. My injuries weren't that bad, basically just got banged around and bruised up, so I was okay with the waiting. But I was in pain and laying on my back was very uncomfortable. I didn't think there was anything wrong with my neck. The only pain I felt was due to the damn neck brace digging into the bottom of my skull, and I really wanted to lay in a different position. Not only to alleviate some of the pain in the rest of my body, hopefully, but also because I was parked right under a light that was blaring in my eyes the whole time. So I started taking off my neck brace. A nurse spotted me doing this and ran over very upset with me and told me I had to keep the neck brace on. I tried telling her my neck was fine, but she was adamant that I not remove the neck brace until the doctor had examined me. Which I get. I'm guessing at the very least it goes very much against protocol. And at the very worst, it would have been a huge liability if I took the brace off and there was something wrong. Plus, I didn't want to piss off the nurse, or be one of those patients. So I begrudgingly complied, even though I thought it was overkill. I tried to reposition myself as best as I could to the least painful position, not very successfully, unfortunately. However, the damn light blaring directly down was driving me crazy, even when I closed my eyes. Finally, out of frustration, I took the blanket that was over me, pulled it up more, and threw it over my head. Finally, no more light in my eyes. Bliss. I just laid there trying to block the pain and daydream to pass the time, wondering how long I would be there for. Not too long after, I hear what sounds like a bit of a commotion, and someone saying something about a dead person in the hallway. I was like, oh my god, that's freaky. I got that there were no rooms available, but to leave a dead body just laying out for everyone to see? I thought that was uber creepy. Suddenly, the same nurse that gave me crap about the neck brace pulls the blanket off my head, scaring the crap out of me, and she starts yelling at me that I'm not allowed to put the blanket over my head, and what the hell was I doing? It was then that I realized the dead body they were talking about was me. I said, oh crap, I'm so sorry. I just wanted the light out of my eyes and I can't move my head with the damn neck brace on. To say the nurse was not impressed would be an understatement. But she did find a room to move me, and positioned me not under any light, which I thanked her very much for. She just gave me a surly look and walked away. Sorry. I wouldn't really say this nurse was entitled or anything, but maybe a bit rude. She was just doing her job. But yeah, still made for a hilarious situation. If I saw OP in that condition with a blanket pulled over their head, I probably would have also thought it was a body. After parking in my space and being asked to move, she flipped me off and told me to do something about it. Yes, ma'am. I followed a Subaru Legacy onto my tiny, less than 1,000 feet long, only about 12 feet wide in some places, private road. Not public. For all of you that missed the word private, I made it bold for you. There is no such thing as public parking on a private road. The car then pulled into my driveway. As I waited, thinking this person was just lost and turning around, which happens quite a bit, a woman got out of her car and started to walk past me. Albeit a bit strange driveway/parking area as it's across the street from me, it is still my property. It's not just in front of my house where I have some misguided claim at some type of possession due to its relative location from that house. It was presented that way by the realtor 26 years ago, shows up on city records, is on the surveys done back then and recently, and it's on the deeds. Every single portion of the pavement that makes up this private way was put on top of someone's deeded property. I also spent over $10,000 having it professionally built up, leveled, and then paved. It's mine and it's for my vehicles, including my work vehicle when I had one, my tenants, and our guests. I didn't do all of this to be denied access by anyone. Here's the picture I sent the tow truck company with the word Subaru. The green square is the completely empty parking spots at her friend's house. The red square is the clean paved parking spots we own that are clearly in use. Never wanting to assume arrogance, I treat everyone with respect I would want them to treat me with. I put down the window and politely said, "Excuse me, but that's my spot. Could you move your car?" To which I received a middle finger and was told to do something about it. I said, "That's at least $100, bitch." It was $125 once the car hit the impound yard. She proceeded to go to her friend's car and drive away. Instead of my now former neighbor whose knowledge of the property lines has been clearly established by her arrogance in the past telling her friend to move, they disappeared down the road. I then drove up to the last available spot on my property, leaving nothing for one of my tenants, despite there being 5 empty spots at her friend's house. She drove onto a private street passing a private way sign, multiple no trespassing, no parking, parking for residents only, and other variants of those signs, to her druggy friend's dirty apartment in a rundown house. Saw her friend parked in the dirt parking area, passed the empty spot before her friend, passed her friend's car, passed 2 to 3 more empty spots next to her friend, passed 2 more cars, and parked in the clean paved area in front of the clean, well-maintained house next door. She then was asked politely to move, and chose to be a bitch instead. About a half hour later, the car was towed and impounded. About 6 hours after that, she's banging at my door, got told to leave, refused, and was eventually removed forcibly by the police. She was also told to never return. She did return and was promptly arrested. What she didn't do, however, was ever even attempt to contact the impound yard to get her uncle's car back. About 50 days later, I remember the fees were just under $2,000. In lieu of payment, her uncle handed over the Subaru keys and signed the title over to the impound yard. My friend's impound yard. It takes about 6 weeks for a new title to come in, and the impound yard was getting overcrowded. Since I just sold my black Impala and now had an empty spot, I offered to store the car at my house until the title came in. He did drop it off around a week later, but the title came in quicker than usual. I never got the opportunity to see her face, but I would imagine it was priceless. That is it for today, friends. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel for more. So I'm out of here. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you all next time.